The scene continues of fighting Proctor and Gwiyoung. Gwiyoung stands up from the ground holding the sword that he has taken from the Proctor. He says to the Proctor, while keeping his word to him, what does he think about that it will hurt, right? He has kept swinging this like a child's whip, and that was he has tried hitting you once. He looks at Dumok asking him is it alright to talk this casually to a young man? Looking at Gwiyoung's foolishness, Dumok screams at him and tells him to look behind him as Proctor is coming towards him for the attack. As the Proctor made an attack on Gwiyoung with his sword which he might have taken along, Gwiyoung very smoothly stepped aside, saving himself from the attack. This movement amused the Proctor and he, judging his movement, said that there was not enough distance where he could easily get away from getting hit by the sword, but he avoided it seeing this precisely. Whereas, in contrast, Gwiyoung, being an innocent brat, says this scared him. Seeing Gwiyoung's eyes, Proctor says to himself that he has good eyes. Moreover, the movements done by him are fit according to his body. They're making attacks on each other, and the Proctor is judging his every move performed during resistance or attack. These comments are his thoughts judging Gwiyoung's fighting skills. He again says to himself when Gwiyoung made an attack right beside the Proctor's head that he is sloppy, although he is a flippant fellow but doesn't have any solid foundation. Gwiyoung made an attack through his kick, but was not successful as the Proctor moved backward, making his move going an extra. Proctor says to Gwiyoung that he acknowledged that Gwiyoung has good skills as he has precisely gone after his body following that unconventional attack. He has good natural talent, good eyes, and physical which follows them are outstanding. However, attacking Gwiyoung with a kick says that not how that kick is done. Gwiyoung counters his attack, where the Proctor again starts saying to him that he looks like he is a wild beast, but despite being born with such natural talent, he was unable to refine it at all, being of such a lowly origin, and that differentiated between him and himself. Proctor is standing behind Gwiyoung saying this to him and going to sew him another spasm, but got dirt in his eyes that was brushed off the shoulders by Gwiyoung. Getting dirt in his eyes, he screams on Gwiyoung and attacks him again. Gwiyoung, being irritated by the Proctor's continuous speaking, says to him that he talks too much and one should focus on fighting while fighting, otherwise he will die in the blink of an eye. Hearing this remark from a lowly origin, Proctor says that a bastard like him, who plays cheap tricks that don't seem like tricks, can also say some important remarks. He says to him that he has misjudged him, and he has barely acknowledged him, and thought of letting him go taking an arrow, but he has changed his mind now. For the crime of dishonoring the jade plaque bestowed by the king himself, as well as for the crime of defiling this strict process of selecting king's swords with his crafty skills, about one arm of yours should be enough, I will take it here, moving towards Gwiyoung with an actual sword in his hands. Dumok, upon seeing him pulling out an actual sword, says loudly that that crazy fellow drew an actual sword. Addressing Gwiyoung, he says to him that they should just accept their defeat as he is a crazy bastard. But Gwiyoung denies his suggestion, saying that behavior is not the right move, and pointing to the wooden sword in his hand, saying that this is not a child plays sword, and he should done this much at least. And as an actual sword has been drawn out, that side should also be prepared to lose an arm, looking straight in the eyes of the Proctor. Proctor, getting furious at the comment and courage of Gwiyoung, who is standing right straight to him instead of bending down, says between clenching his teeth that he is acting till the very end, and he wonders if he will be acting straight like this in a little bit. Gwiyoung replies to him, same pitch, let's find out. Both run towards each other and clash their weapons with each other, but their swords fall on the grounds due to interruptions made but the chief Proctor. The chief trainer, looking at the Proctor, says to him that no one is coming down from the top of the mountain, and he starts to wonder what has happened as he senses that he has held them all back here. Yujong, the name of the Proctor. He continues talking to Yujong and says that he just said to him that he should check their competence, but he has brought them all to this state, addressing the fallen participants on the ground. And even more, you have drawn an actual sword? To his questions, Yujong replies that he has left the part to him to check the competence level of the candidates that will come to the top, and he has only done what he was supposed to do. The chief Proctor, getting furious at his calm reply, says to him that he did not have to tell him to drop them out of the competition like this and bring them in this state. Gwiyoung addressed the chief, seeing them busy in their own conversation, saying that he was still there. To his comment, the chief Proctor says to him by titling him the Jade Plaque Boy, as the rules are rules, ordering Yujong to bring an arrow, and he should acknowledge what must be acknowledged as he himself has fought with him. Yujong picked up his actual sword from the ground that had fallen down when the chief interrupted their fight, and with a strike cut the ref feathered of the arrows that were inserted in the trunk of the tree. Cutting the tails of the arrows, he addressed the chief and said to him that he had told him that he had been entrusted with proctoring this place, and in Group 3 there was no one that had passed the test. Chief uses slang seeing the foolish action performed by Yujong. Domok stands in front of the chief proctor holding a red feathered arrow in one of his hands, saying, "Here, this is a red feathered arrow," and he has brought a red feathered arrow as it was said by him, and according to rules he has passed. Seeing the arrow in the hands of Domok, Gwiyoung gets shocked and tries to understand how he got that. Running the horses of his mind, he understands that when he and Yujong are caught up in fighting, he secretly goes and picks out the arrows from the tree. Getting angry with this trick, Domok thinks that this is why they said that one shouldn't have company with an educated man. Holding the arrows from Domok, the chief says that he also has passed in Group 3. Domok turns towards Gwiyoung, pointing to another red-feathered arrow in his hand as he hands it to him, saying, "This one is for you." He reminds Gwiyoung that he promised to make him his associate and adds that it will only be possible if they both work together. Seeing so much consideration for himself, Gwiyoung gets emotional and runs towards him with tears in his eyes and hugs him tightly. Where Chief Proctor goes to Yujong and says to him that he doesn't know what has been bothering him, but whatever he wants to do, get that done in moderation. He keeps on saying that the purpose of the first test round was the competition to see the stamina and endurance of the candidates, and asks him if he will be doing this and who will be left in the selection process. Yujong, being adhered on his view, replies to the chief that this is about informer selection, and wasn't this test to select extensively based elite soldiers, and they are the people that will not for sure make it to the finals, including those dunes, pointing to Gwiyoung and Domok who are busy talking to each other. As Yujong is leaving, the chief calls out, "Who are you calling a dunce? I nearly lost an arm to that dunce." Yujong stops and turns back to him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" she asks, noticing a cut on his arm. Chief asks him that when he interrupted the fight whom he was protecting and to whose side he was going. The next day starts where the arena-like setup is done for the next test. All the past candidates are present in the place where today's test is going to happen. Gwiyoung, being disturbed by the test taken, says to Domok that he thought that he was very disappointed that yesterday's test wasn't an end. Where Domok, looking at other candidates, says that it seems like there are more individuals who have passed the test indeed, we were ended up with a bad proctor. One of the guards asks the candidates to stop talking, and General Lee Sung-mong is seen walking with two guards behind him, walks passing the standing candidates. Gwiyoung, seeing Lee Sun-mong at the test place, was in shock. Lee Sun-mong, standing in front of everyone, introduces himself and says that he is Sun-mong. The candidates start asking each other, does he, the Lee Sun-mong, do us all? The other one says that this is right, as he is the rowdy of the world. He is the one who fights along with General Choi Yun-dok, and he is the best archer, but the pondering point is that what a man like him has come to the place of Royal Forces selection? An apricot is placed on the cut trunk of the tree, and he is sought by Lee Sun-mong through his arrow, and it got struck right on the plum. This shocked everyone watching as he got the right target. One of them says that indeed he is worth being called the Joseon's best archer. And the other one says that he is a divine archer, literally. Looking at the candidates amused, Lee Sun-mong says that does everyone has seen that as this is his level. He starts to explain about the second round of the test and says to them that the second round is much easier than the first round. All they have to do is to hold this melon and stand, that's it, and points to one guard who is demonstrating the part standing in the center of the ground. The one who stands still holding the melon until I hit that with the red feathered arrows everyone has got at the last test. It is child's play, as the size of the melon is much bigger than the size of that plum. After explaining the process of the test and demonstrating the trail, he asks the candidates who is going to be the first one. One of them, full of enthusiasm, says that he will be the first one to go. Seeing his energy, Lee Sun-mong says that good, he liked the gust like that along with his trust in him. The candidate who is going to be the first one thinking in his mind that if they have to do this, then it is better to do it the very first place when the concentration level of Lee Sun-mong is at its highest, and if he is the first one, then the chance of making mistake is nearly equal to 0. Putting the melon over his head, fully shaking with fear, he says to Lee Sun-mong that he is ready. But the shock comes to him when he saw Lee Sun-mong drinking alcohol from the vessel. No, everyone else gets a shock and starts discussing between themselves that isn't that alcohol and says that it will probably not happen to hit the plum. After drinking, he stretches the bow wand, gets him ready to shoot, and says to the candidate that if by chance the arrow enters his body, he will pass if he keeps on standing in place without any movements.